We're with John Kelly. John is a personal injury attorney in Phoenix, Arizona, and he's agreed to answer some questions related to product liability. With that said, John, let's go ahead and go into the first question that was posted online. What factors are considered to determine if I have a case?
Okay, so to determine if you have a case with a product's liability issue, we need to look at several different kind of legal avenues. And one of those is, what's the theory of liability that we're going to proceed under? Most of the time, we're going to use something that most people have heard of, which is negligence. There's also strict liability, there's breach of warranty, and there's some others that can be used. But typically, if you're injured by a product, it's going to be a theory of negligence. Then we kind of move on to what type of liability is being asserted here. So is it a manufacturing defect? Was the defect in the process of the manufacturing? Did it occur while they were manufacturing the product? Or was it a design defect? The product was inherently dangerous from the start. The actual design of it was dangerous and the company should have known better. Or is it a failure to warn? And a failure to warn is the inherent dangers that exist in the product could be mitigated if you have adequate warnings or labeling on that product. And then finally, to determine if you have a case, we have to look at what damages you have and whether those damages are of a significant enough amount that you would want to pursue a claim. So did you get injured, and how injured are you? And so really with these kind of cases, Ryan, it takes an attorney to get down to the details, because they're all so different, to really determine if there's a valid claim.
Okay, this next one probably ties into that just a little bit anyway, but how are compensation amounts determined in product liability cases?
Okay, so product liability cases are very similar to a lot of other kind of cases as far as how the compensation is determined. If we talk about a truck accident, a car accident, a design defect, an assault, we're all kind of asking the same question in these cases of what are the damages, and so that determines what compensation is given in a particular case. So to look at what the compensation is, we have to look at what the medical expenses were. What kind of property damage might have been involved? Was there any lost earnings as a result of this injury? In future lost income, you know, the lost earnings from the actual accident, and what about the future? And sometimes we need to get a report on that, someone who's an expert that can look into that. Future medical expenses, what are the doctors saying are the future medical expenses that this individual has? And then general damages, which everyone calls pain and suffering, or is otherwise known as pain and suffering. Really, it becomes very detail-oriented, just like I had said before, you kind of have to talk to an attorney before you get an idea of what you may be looking at as far as compensation, because every case is different, and it all is in the details.
Okay, next question. This one's fairly specific. I feel I have a lawsuit against a large-scale manufacturer. The corporation is located outside of Arizona. Can you still help me?
The short answer is yes, I can. The long answer is that oftentimes I'll co-counsel with another attorney on a case that's in another jurisdiction or state. If the injury occurred in Arizona, typically the jurisdiction will be here. But if the injury occurred in another state outside of Arizona, I can still help you through the process. I would co-counsel with someone in the jurisdiction that the injury occurred. The good news is that when attorneys co-counsel, what we're able to do is kind of pool our resources to cover costs. Oftentimes in cases that are large against a large-scale manufacturer, we need to hire experts to do a little research about how this occurred and how it could have been prevented. And so the law firms will typically put up some of the costs, provide those costs for the client. And so if attorneys can pool resources, you get more attorneys on your case, and the amount that the client pays actually stays the same. So it's a big benefit to the client.
Okay. If I make a claim and I'm unsuccessful, and I'm successful, how long will it take for me to get paid?
So getting paid is everyone's goal in these kind of cases, I guess, and rightfully so if you've been injured, you know, not from your own fault. So, you know, getting that check from typically an insurance company is not always the fastest process. And these insurance companies, they don't like writing checks, the bottom line. So what you need is you need to kind of keep them on track. And I typically call them sometimes several times a week and make sure that that check is out and in the mail. So if you settled your claim, they should be in a reasonable time sending you that check. Or if you've gotten a judgment after a trial, the same is true. Typically, you know, 30 days might be something that you're looking at as an average, but you know, it can happen a lot faster if you hound them.
Okay, and the final question we have is, my wife was offered a settlement, which I believe is good. Why should we hire an attorney if we are going to have to pay a percentage of our settlement?
Absolutely, you do not need to hire an attorney, but it is very advisable to at least speak with an attorney. Remember that a consultation is free with most lawyers, and you may be missing out on some real avenues of compensation that you were not aware of. There's just so many areas of the law, and if the insurance company is making you an offer, especially if it's quickly, you need to be suspicious of it, because they don't often make you know, a very high offer right off the bat to try to resolve the case. Usually they're penny pinching. So you should be suspicious of the offer in the first place. The other thing is that if you have significant medical expenses, even if those are covered by the amount that you were offered, your attorney can oftentimes call the medical providers and have them reduce their rates based on what the offer was. So you can kind of negotiate those liens that they have against your case. And that can actually get a significant amount in your pocket that would actually cover your attorney's expenses and go well beyond that.
I understand. Okay, well, if you have any more questions for John Kelly, you basically just need to post them in the comments section below. With that said, John, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. If anyone has any questions, just feel free to give me a call. Like I said, free consultation, and I can help you through the process.
Thanks, John.